Meet Dr. Lois Lee. When she found 11-year-olds working as prostitutes in Hollywood, she took them home. She built the first drop-in center, ran street programs across the West, and created a world-class home for kids nationwide. Dr. Lois Lee didn't just start a movement, she's rescued over 17,000 kids from sex trafficking. Now she's pulling back the curtain so you can meet the kids who changed her life and hear the truths no one else will tell. Welcome to the Dr. Lois Lee Show.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Lois Lee. We're back with Erika.
All right, I'm so happy to be back. Thank you again, Dr. Lois. You know I love you so much, so of course I'm back.
So if you had a chance, if someone said, we'd like you to come and speak to Congress and tell us what we should know about children that were situated like you, what could we do? What should we have done? What is our role? What do we do that's good? What do we do that's bad?
Well, I definitely think those girls should be viewed as victims, and not as suspects. There needs to be more programs for them to go to as well. I feel like if a girl goes to a group home and she's out there, the chances of her running away are still kind of high, depending on the type of group home that she's in. No one ran away from your program because the program was amazing. But I think of some of these other programs these girls have to go to, and I feel like they kind of they throw them in outpatient care. And even the outpatient care isn't even good, and it's still chaotic. And they really need that counseling, because not only was I just in a program, I had a therapist, a top-notch therapist. My therapist was in Beverly Hills, so I had a top-tier therapist, a top-tier psychiatrist, and those things help. Because some of these ones that they get in the outpatient care, they're not even a therapist yet. They're like interns, still working under someone. And so they're not really getting that care, and they need to know about their self-esteem. They need to know about their identity, because realizing my identity is what helped me, because I had a very low view of self. I thought my value was only sex. I didn't think that I can offer anything more than that. So it was easy for me to just give that away. And I didn't even enjoy it. I did not enjoy having sex. I never did. Like, how you hear about some girls, they're professionals. I was not. I wanted it to be over as soon as possible because I could not stand it.
Right.
But I just was like, I feel like it was a tool, and it was a tool to just, I guess, keep me out there. You don't even really understand, honestly. Like, when I think about myself now, I can't fathom why it would do that.
Mm-hmm.
It had to be because I was insecure, because I needed some counseling.
I think it has a lot to do with the kinds of people you meet.
Right.
Because you could have gone through a whole lifetime without meeting any of those people.
Right. And I would have been better.
So it's not just meeting them, it's the age that you meet them and your vulnerability. What in your life happened that prepared you, that made you vulnerable to that?
Right.
Part of it, of course, is culture and clothes and money and TV and media. But another part of it is a lot of kids would go, oh, no, I'm not going to do that.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like they never would.
Right.
And I remember there would be girls that were out there that were from a group home. Mm. And every time she would be arrested and go back to her group home, she would always bring another girl with her from the group home, every single time. Mm-hmm. So that's like the dangers of the group home, too, because you meet other people who do these things, like you said, that you wouldn't even think about, but they can plant a seed. And, if you have other issues going on, and, when you get in contact with the pimps, they sell you this dream. I'm going to get your hair done. I'm going to buy you clothes. You're going to have your own place. We're going to travel. And they do get your hair done. They do get you clothes, but all the clothes they get you are for the street. You don't get regular clothes to wear anywhere.
Like what every little girl wants to be. It's what every
right.
Told. You're going to grow up. You're going to get married to a nice guy. You're going to travel. You're going to have children. You're going to have a home. And many children grow up in environments where they don't see any way that they're going to get that, except that they meet this guy that tells them, I'm going to do that for you. What they want is not any different than what everybody else wants.
Right.
The way that they go about it. And one of the, Children's Night doesn't have the shelter anymore.
Oh, I didn't know.
Oh, no. We closed the shelter in 2018. And the reason was I fought when I started, I found children on the street, and I'd taken them to Department of Children's Services, and they would not put them in foster care because prostitution was illegal, and they saw them as criminals and repugnant, and they were not going to get foster homes. And then I'd take them to juvenile courts, and I'd talk to the judges and say, you have to put them in treatment programs, because they had drug programs, they had money for that. No, they said it's not a crime against property, so it doesn't justify spending taxpayers' money on these kids. They're only hurting themselves. You take them.
Wow.
So I ended up with all of these kids that our traditional system would not take. And so they kept saying, those are your kids, those are your kids. And then they became my kids. And I started talking that way. And next thing I knew, I had to set up a program. So I was really in no man's land in running a shelter home. I mean, it was shelter home, group home, whatever you want to call it. But it was different because we were not funded by foster care. And they didn't really have any control over the way I ran the program, except for the state of California had certain guidelines and regulations and requirements. If you're going to run a home, you have to have plumbing, you have to have food, you have to have so much staffing, staff has to be trained, those kinds of things. But then, and I had fought for many, many years to get forced Department of Children's Services to take these kids in. Now, under current law, since 2018, they are required, if a police officer has contact with a child, they're required to call a DCFS, Department of Children's Services, or Children's Services, they've got different names throughout the state, and hand them over immediately.
Wow.
And they take them to foster homes at 4 o'clock in the morning, dressed provocatively, and many of them are headed right towards the bedroom and out the door. It doesn't really, it's too late for, it's not too late for intervention, but it's not appropriate intervention for where these children are at. So the state begged me to stay open, and they had millions of dollars for me to run a program just for kids who had been prostituted. The problem is I had to abide by their guidelines, and and I couldn't do it because one thing is they would require each child to be able to have access to a cell phone. You know what that would have looked like with all of the
Yes.
cell phone? There's no way to manage that.
There's no way to manage a cell phone.
No, not with this population of kids, not with any population really of kids. And that was the number one thing. The second thing was that then the social worker would step in the role of the parent. Because when you came to me, our attorneys had a form that your mother signed saying that we basically stepped in the role of the parent. Like if you needed medical care, we could sign that paper. If we wanted to go horseback riding or snowboarding, we could sign that paper, because we couldn't run around, and some parents you could get a hold of and some you couldn't. It had to be absolutely, if you want us to help your child, we have to do it our way. And everybody signed. They were very happy because, as you said, the program was really quite wonderful. But it would mean that before a child could go on an outing, the social worker would have to sign. And social workers
Wow.
are terrified to sign for these kids because they're afraid of being sued. So they'd have to go to court, and it could take them 30 days to get a court date. So here comes Friday, and everybody's going snowboarding except for those kids whose social workers didn't get it together. So you have some staying behind and some going. That would have ruined everything.
Yeah, would have. And how does that make them feel and look?
No, it would. I said, I'm not going to do that. And so I have mixed blessings about it. I'm happy that we have a system of care that takes them in. I wish the system of care was better. It's just the government tends to think that one size fits all, and it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
In the business of raising children. So we walked away from it because of that, because I was not going to run a state program. That's just not who I am. And many people have popped up running what they say are, sex trafficking programs. They typically are not.
Wow.
Not dealing with the kinds of kids we deal with. I mean, our kids, there was no question they were involved in prostitution, and they had pimps, and it was dangerous, and it was ugly. A kid who's, a teenager who's pregnant, or maybe sexually abused or incested by a parent. So it's very, very different now. And they still find the kids that we work with as repugnant. One of the things that I'm doing is, because I won't be around forever, is taking and creating a scholarship for kids like you, for all of the kids who've come through children and kids like your children.
Yes.
This money will be in place forever after, even way, way long after I'm gone. It'll be controlled by the Fuller Institute, or Fuller Foundation, I should say. And the alumni I've put on the board of directors to determine who gets the scholarships and who doesn't. We have not turned down anyone yet because that's kind of the Children of the Night way. And
Yes.
all these kids have been in Children of the Night, but you would be an excellent person to be on that board. And they're
Oh,
all,
really? I would love
yeah.
that.
Would you like to do that?
I would love to do that. I
Okay,
would
we're going to
absolutely love
reorganize again
to.
in January, so you won't hear
Okay.
until then, but I would love to have you on that committee. You've come so far, you've lived it, and I believe that, because I only want the money to go to people who are connected with Children of the Night. I want it to go to your children. I want it to go to your children's children. I want it to forever after.
Thank you. Yes.
That's important
Y-
to me, you know? So,
I would love to. Like, I'm honored that you even asked me because I would love to do
thank
that.
you. I mean,
Yeah.
anybody just even looking at you in this interview, I mean, you've come so far, and you were such a nice kid anyway. And I remember your mom, and I know how much she loved you and how hard it was for her.
Yeah, because like my mom, even though like you wouldn't really think with my mom that it would have happened with my mom. That's so crazy because my mom was always the mom that was there, always supportive. And I had to apologize to her. I had to apologize to my brother because my brother ended up being the what do they call it, the glass child or the child that stops getting paid attention to. He's a year younger than me, because my mom was always out looking for me. Of course she was. So he was like, there was days with no dinner. There was days she wasn't there. There was days she was alone. And there was times he tried to stop me from leaving and he could not stop me. I was getting out of the house, when I would be there. And so I still feel like even though it was a lot he went through, it shaped him, but like our connection never got back the same. Like we were like this, but we're not, now he's married, he has kids and everything. But that's like one of my regrets is that, and even though like I've changed, I feel like it took a while for my mom to start viewing me as that I changed. It took her a long time. Like I would say, probably just within the 5 years, she started finally like, okay, my daughter is a brand new woman. She's not that young girl no more who left and ran away. Because even as a mom, I can see how hurtful that must have been. But I also sometimes it's hard for me to see how hard she went because like when my kids act up, sometimes I'm just like, oh, you kind of want to just give up because it's so much. But my mom never gave up. She was always there trying to put me, even before your program, she was trying to put me in charter. She was trying to put me in so many programs to try to get me back. So, she loves Children of the Night. She always even tries to donate to Children of the Night to this day because of how much your program did. And not even when I was at the program, after I left, when I was in college, I paid for my college books. Even when I went back to college, like 15 years later, y'all paid for my college books. There were times where I didn't have food and y'all would send me gift cards so I can buy food, or I didn't have gas. Like when the gas skyrocketed, I called and y'all sent me gas card. Y'all have bought Christmas presents for my kids on multiple Christmas. And I'm like, not just one or two gifts, so many gifts, like expensive gifts. Like Children of the Night has been a resource ever since I was there and even after I left. And I know at any given time I can reach out and say, I'm going through this, and y'all would do anything to help. So it wasn't just like you're like, oh, you're grown now, you haven't figured it out. Like, no, you know that so many things can happen because of what we've been through, and y'all stay close knit. Y'all stay checking in. The alumni would always send something at least twice a year. They would send a form to see how we were doing and if we needed anything. And they're like, because we have toiletries, we have this. Y'all sent me a MacBook one time too. And this was years after, I had been away from the program. So the program is amazing. I feel bad that it can't be around no more because it really is a disservice for other young girls who go through the same thing. And, they are viewed as like the underbelly. And it's sad because they have so much potential, to be something amazing, but they just fell into the wrong circumstances. They're children.
So we got rid of the residential and we're doing case management, and on the streets, and our tutoring program is really, really active. And,
Wow.
and I'm back to doing street outreach. We work in Figueroa. Do you know Figueroa at all?
I seen videos on Facebook And I see those young girls. I know they're young because they look like babies. They look 12, 13, 14, and I see them. And it's sickening that people are recording them and putting them on Facebook. These videos go viral on Facebook, and these girls don't know. It's just people sitting in the cars recording them and putting them on Facebook, and their whole page is that. It says that name, that street name. That's how I know. And I'm talking about, I just seen it because I was like, I didn't know that this was still going on.
The critics really control it, and it's they still don't bother us, but we navigate girls away from them. It's a little trickier, but
Yeah.
even the police depend on us to see if we can intervene on some cases.
Wow.
You know, if you get in a police car, they're going to get killed or beaten up or something.
Yeah.
And we're out on the streets. We serve over 500 kids a year, so we're bigger than ever in terms of number of kids we're serving, and tutoring over 100 kids. So helping kids get their high school diploma and still doing the college application. So we do everything we did in shelter. We just do more kids, and we don't do the bed and breakfast.
Wow.
And so, and it's okay because we use other shelters and stuff. There's no place like Children of the Night Home. I know that, and it took a lot in terms of running it. I remember one time, two girls came to my office. I'm thinking you may have been one of them, who said, "We're scared." And I said, "Why are you scared?" And you told me that a girl had snuck a cell phone into the Children of the Night shelter, and that she had said that she had called her pimp, and they told her to pick out two girls that they were going to come kidnap, and that you guys were supposed to go to the movies, and you were going to the movies, and that you were going to get kidnapped at the movies. And I said, "Okay, I got it." And you guys said, "Well, no, you got." I said, "I've got it." They said, "Well, we don't want anyone to know we told you." "I've got it. Just trust me, please. Just trust me." And without
Yes.
saying anything to anyone, I called the shelter. I called, I think it was Vicky, the program director, at 6 in the morning, and said, "This is what we're going to do because we've been targeted for a kidnapping." So this morning, when the kids get up, have them go back up to the room, put on their tennis shoes, and have them, have a little t-shirt, sweatshirt or something, and we're going to put them in the vans, take them to Disneyland. And so we changed the plan at the very last minute. So when you guys were all at the door and ready to go, we said, "Well, we've changed our plans. You're going to Disneyland, or you're going somewhere else." I don't think we even announced it. You had to get in the van. And the girl, of course, who was meeting her pimp, she went out the door because she had an arrangement to meet them. Were you that girl that came and told
No, I don't think it was me
Yeah.
because cell phones wasn't around yet when I was there. I don't believe it was.
Oh, cell phones weren't invented yet.
No, there wasn't any.
Sure changed the world, and they sure changed the nature of residential care. But we were pretty good at detecting them, and once that came into being, I mean, because the girls, we even had social workers that their kids would not come to the Children of the Night shelter program if they couldn't have their cell phone. So we were just absolute no, can't have that.
My daughter, she's 13. She can't have a cell phone.
Well,
I was even letting her use mine for a little bit, and then I took mine away from her because you really cannot monitor. The thing with cell phones is you can't monitor what they're being exposed to.
Oh, you can't.
And anybody on social media has a voice, and they have a way of saying things that are very convincing, and you don't know what they can see that can trigger them. You don't know who they can talk to that can lure them. And a lot of people that you hear about running away is because of the cell phone. They came across somebody on cell phone that lured them outside of their home, these grown men. And that's something that I tell my kids, like, these men that are, pedophiles, they come up with ways to get access to kids because they don't have access to them. And one of the biggest access they do is trying on that phone, and they know what you're using. They're going on robots and they're trying to get a hold of you, and they're very manipulative. That's what they do, and yeah, so I personally don't think the cell phone is a good idea at all to have in that program. And it would have just created a lot of conflict, with the girls. They would have been wanting to post all their business. And you don't need to be posting or even thinking about that. The great thing about the
pictures of
program,
other kids who were in there.
Yeah, they kept you out from the outside. Like, not that we were kept from the outside world, but we were kept from our world, So it was like a vacation away from what we were used to, so we can get healing and structure and stability.
Food without having to do anything.
Right, and we needed that. Like, if we still had connections to the outside, it'll probably start making us view the program as something worse than what it even was. Like, we'll start viewing it in a negative way because of what we're looking at, and so a cell phone isn't good at all. at all for that type of facility. Or even kids today, honestly. I feel like
There's
teenagers
no
don't need
way.
a
There was no way I was going to try and do that because I knew it was just a time bomb in terms of when it go off. I was not going to be part of it. And they were devastated. They couldn't believe I walked away.
Wow. Well, that is crazy. They try to take over the whole
Well,
program.
it's the state. I don't, I, if the state was doing their job, there never would have been a Children of the Night in the first place. So,
Yeah, that's true. That's
oh,
true.
I filled it and then they come to take it away. But I think it's good because a lot of young kids who are out there on the streets, I don't know, that are out there on the streets, at least they're picked up. There is an alternative. They go to foster homes. It's not the best case scenario because we know many of them are right back on the streets and we're looking for them again.
Yeah.
And social workers don't know what to do. And many times they'll call us right before they have to go to court and explain to the judge what's happening with the child. And they're lost. And they say, can you help me? Can you help me find the child? I can't get her to stay anywhere. And then it always surprises me because they never really talk to the child. We'll say, where do you want to stay? Where do you want to live? Well, I don't want to be in a religious program. Okay, fine. There's other options. I don't want to be anywhere where I have to work. Okay, you don't have to work. We'll find you a group home or something. And I don't want to be with a bunch of kids. Okay, we'll put you in a small place. I mean, but you have to talk to the kid to see what they're willing to accept because if they don't stay, why waste everyone's time?
Right.
And then the other thing is that if you don't stay, we want you to call us so we can try and find you another place, or we'll help you no matter where you are. We have girls who are tutoring for the high school diploma who are still prostituting, working truck stops, doing their algebra on their phone before they go out and turn a trick with a trucker. And they
Mm,
come back and they've called and they've said to our staff, my boyfriend wants to tutor. And then my staff came to me and said, I think they're pimps. And I said, it's okay, tutor them too. And they said, are you kidding? I said, no. I said, we have to be inclusive. If we don't
yeah,
let them in, they're not going to give us access to the girls. They
exactly.
and they don't last. They don't have the concentration because they're
No, they don't. They're in the
what's going on.
streets.
But if you say no, then you've created a whole interest for
Yeah.
competition, and that doesn't work either. So it's
And
been
they already have personality disorders. They're very controlling. So if they can't do something, they're not going to want them to do it at all.
exactly.
Yeah. But that's so sad to me too, that they're doing it and going back. They don't really have, but it still gives them some purpose. And that's what they need is purpose, because a lot of them don't feel like they have that. And so many people go out there and they ridicule you, like even women, they'll go out there and they call you all kind of names, they throw water at you. And so, you get into this mindset of that you kind of don't care what anyone thinks anyway. But if you start having some purpose to you, actually start to care what people think. You start to view yourself better. So that's still good that they're getting education at the same time.
Such a pleasure talking to you today. It really is. I mean, it's
Same with you.
overwhelmed. I mean, it's we have so many successful kids, and I'm so much in the trenches in terms of doing the daily work that I don't have a chance to sit down and catch up with kids who have gone through the program. And so this podcast is really an opportunity. I mean, I've had lots of offers to teach in the university, but I can reach so many more people to show them what we did. And you just did an incredible, description of the shelter in terms of what needs to be done, what
Yeah,
works, what doesn't work. Because if you don't provide a good program, kids who prostitute are not going to stay there.
right.
They have options. They may not be good options, but they have options. They have access to money. They have access to freedom.
And the girls too weren't mean. Like everybody was so friendly. It was very welcoming, even when you got there. And it was structured. Like we had to get up every morning. We had to, and then when we would get up, we would have breakfast, and then you would say, what kind of toiletries do we need? Do we need shaving? Do we need this? Then we would go take a shower. Like it was always something set to do at every time of the day. And it was fun. It was fun too. So
Every week I'd meet with you and you guys would select what you wanted.
there was a resident meeting and then there was a staff meeting.
It was really a child-centered program. I mean, what you guys wanted, you got.
Yeah, we did. We definitely did. And we didn't have to work for anything. It was just love. That's why I say you're the Mother Teresa. You're the Mother Teresa. And the children that have been forgotten realm, because they had to take hard work, passion, care, concern, like even how you said, what do they want? They don't care really what the girls want. They just want to try to get rid of the problem, but you're actually trying to figure out what was our needs. Even while we was there, it was always what we needed. And you gave me opportunities to come up with other things there that can help. Like, I remember I came up with the Kumon. If we did it consecutively every day, that's how we would get something. And you was like, okay with it. So like anything we would come up with, if as long as it was doable, you would do it. So it wasn't like we couldn't cast any ideas to make the program better. And we did go horseback riding there too, in Malibu. And then we ate at this restaurant where I remember it was no refills. Like it wasn't free refills. Like that's how fancy the restaurant was in Malibu. And that was such a fun outing too. So it was just always being spoiled and being cared for and being loved. And it changed my life. I have a hard time believing that if I never went there, that I would have changed. I really feel like me changing my life is because of Children of the Night. I don't see it happening any other way. And I feel like I probably would have ended up dying or something out there, or maybe on drugs or something one day, which thankfully I never went that route. But I've seen young girls go that route too and get carried off into that route. But thankfully, that program was my saving grace. Like I said, y'all put me in college. And even just being in college, from coming through that situation, because I was in an alternative school before where he told me I would never go to college. He told me that. So to go to college was like, like I wish I could have went back to that teacher and say, see, you told me I would never go to college, but because of Children of the Night, I was able to go to a 4-year college. So I've been in other programs that didn't do anything and didn't even vouch for me to do something. And Children of the Night was my biggest advocate that I could be great, that like your life doesn't stop here. Your life can change here. And we're going to put you on the right path so it can change. And that's exactly what you did. And the thing about Children of the Night, y'all don't hold us there. And most programs hold you there. I always had the opportunity to leave at any given time while I was there, and I didn't leave until it was time for me to leave, and go to college and finish the program. But I always had the opportunity to leave. Every person did, and everybody stayed. Mm-hmm. Nobody wanted to leave that program. Nobody wanted to go back to the streets. But you would think, if we truly enjoy being out there, why wouldn't we go back? We could have easily, but the reason that just goes to show it wasn't about the streets. It was about us needing the help that we truly needed. And that's what all the girls need, and the young men that go too, because I know there was some boys there too. They just truly need the help that they need so they can know that they have purpose, that they're more special than what some grown, manipulative, narcissistic person is saying about them. But no child is choosing to be a prostitute. Someone has manipulated them in such a way to where they think that's their only option. And that's why they're doing it, because it's so dangerous out there too.
You sign up for something to where you think there's a lot of freedom, but there's less freedom with the pimp than there is in the military.
Yeah, it's slavery, honestly. And even the other girls will try to attack you. They'll try to fight you just for any little reason. They watch everything you do. You're under control, and then you get raped, you get guns pulled out you. I was out there and I seen girls get shot. So I had a friend that was murdered while she was out there and she was only 16. Things that happened to me that would have never happened if I wasn't out there in the streets. And then the police don't care, really, because there's times police called me and they had a feeling I was young, but they just didn't feel like dealing with it. So they would just let me go. They didn't feel like doing the paperwork about it. So the police don't really care. Even if something happens to a girl, they feel like you kind of made that decision. They don't view you as like a child, a victim, like they should.
Also, they feel there's no hope.
They feel there's no hope. Yes, exactly. That's how they feel. Unless it was someone they cared about or someone they loved. So it just shows what you did shows your love. It shows your heart, for perfect strangers, that you had a heart for them, because most people wouldn't even do it. They wouldn't even take the time. And not only did you take time, you took effort, it took money, it took brainstorming, it probably took a lot of sacrifice and obedience, and you had to put probably what you really wanted to do as a career wise to the side so you can focus on this. So it's amazing. It truly is. What you've done is amazing. And I hope more people come up like you.
It was never a dull moment.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. It was never a dull moment there. It was always something going on. It was always something going on. But I used to love when someone new came. That was always my favorite thing when we got a new person, especially if they were from somewhere different than California. That's what I would like too. Because, we used to always get people from Vegas and California. But if they were from somewhere like Michigan, New York, like I remember one girl was from New York, that would just add such a different dynamic to the group. And it would make it so much fun to me. Like, this person has a completely different personality, And I remember one time the caseworker told me, because some people will burden me. And they told me that's another thing that they taught me, how to have boundaries, and not to be so much of a people pleaser. Because when you go there, you don't have no boundaries. Your boundaries are white, from being exploited. And I remember what my caseworker told me. She was like, when someone dumps their burdens on you, that's also not fair to you, because you have your own burdens that you have to carry as well. And when she told me that, it like opened my eyes, because I really thought that was, I was doing a good thing by listening to someone and not thinking that they were putting their burdens on me while I was dealing with my own. So it taught me that I can have boundaries and say, hey, not right now. I understand you're going through something, but I'm going through something too. So yeah, it taught me that too, because you don't have any. And that's another thing they need to be taught, is to have boundaries, because there's another reason they allow it, is because the boundaries aren't there. Like, one of the things I realized with myself was I didn't have boundaries and I didn't have a voice. So I was always scared to speak up, and I was always scared to set firm boundaries. So I would just let them do whatever, because I was so scared to say something. If the girls did anything, the guys didn't, I just wouldn't say nothing. They had actually called me Casper because I was so quiet. When I used to be out there, I was too quiet. It was like, you're Casper. It's like, you're not even here. You're like the friendly ghost, but it was because I was afraid to speak up, not knowing what can happen. So that's something that I worked on as I got older, was learning how to speak up for myself, telling people what I like, dislike, what my hate. If I don't want to be around you, I don't want to do this, because that's something that is missing in all of them, is that they don't have those firm boundaries to say no. Those pimps literally steal it all away from them.
Yes, they do. So you managers, you like the staff.
Oh, I love the staff. The staff at Children of the Night? Yeah, I love the staff. The staff was family. My caseworker, Miss Ventura's, of course, I love her. There's another one there. I think her name was Bianca. I remember her mom had passed while she was there, and she was like one of my favorites. We used to always, she was like obsessed with Che or somebody like that. So we used to always call her the T-shirt that she would wear.
Uh-huh.
She used to wear something about Che, and we used to always call her that. But yeah, the staff was amazing there. There was another one that showed me, I still think about this to this day, how she did her resume, because it was so impressive to me. Like, she had everything so organized in a file, and with a cover letter. And it was just how she had it and how she showed it to me and how she carried herself. Like, this is things like that the staff would do that would just make you feel better about who you are. Like, yeah, you can easily do this too. And they wouldn't even know. It could sometimes be the simplest things that will pour into you so much. But just her showing me her file and how she had her cover letter, her resume, and it's like how her nails were done, how she would dress, how she would do her hair and makeup. It just made me want to be better. I'm like, every time I have my resume, I'm always going to put it in a file now with my cover letter, and make sure I look the part, because she definitely, I was like, no one's turning her down from a job, and her just even telling me that she didn't have to.
Thank you so much for spending time with me today.
Oh, you're so welcome.
I see your spirit. I can feel your spirit. I'm just so pleased. It makes me very proud of what I've done. Please like and subscribe to this podcast. There are many more to come.